Hi everyone, welcome back. Today's video is going to be a marathon cook with me. I'm sharing 6 fall recipes that I know you guys will absolutely love. Make sure you check down in the description box for opportunities to work with me as a coach in mindset and weight loss, and of course for all of the recipes that are in this video. But let's get started now with my sausage and pumpkin soup. And the best time to enjoy this is right at the beginning of fall because there's pumpkin in it. This is my pumpkin and sausage soup. Come and take a look at the ingredients. There's not very many and it's super easy to make. We're going to start off with some sausage. Now you can use sweet Italian sausage, you can use hot. Today I'm using hot and my grocery store did not have patties, so I had to get the ones with the casings. So all I did was run my knife along the top, and right when I'm about to put it in my pot, I'm gonna just remove the casings. We don't need those. We just want the meat on the inside. Next, we have garlic and onion, of course, and then red wine. A couple spices I have, some Italian seasoning, some granulated onion, granulated garlic, and optional is some red pepper flakes. You might wanna leave these out if you're not used to having a lot of spice in soup, but we love spice around here, so I'm using the hot sausage and the red pepper flakes. Next, I have some baby Bella mushrooms. Feel free to use any mushrooms of your choice. These just looked amazing and pretty, so I'm using those today. Then, for the pumpkin part, I have organic pumpkin. Now, the only ingredient in this can is organic pumpkin. It's just another way we're using something that is fresh and fall-like, so that's why we're using this today. And then lastly, we need the soup to come together with some chicken stock. Now, the only things that aren't here for you to see yet are heavy cream, and we'll add that in right at the end to make a nice luxurious ending to our soup. And then also some scallions and some mozzarella cheese. Those are gonna be our garnishes from when we're ready to serve it. So right now, we're gonna move over to the stove where I have a big soup pot getting warm with some olive oil, and we're gonna start making our soup, and you're gonna see how amazing this comes together. And this is one of those times where I wish you guys had some kind of smell-o-vision because your kitchen will smell phenomenal. In the fall, if it's not cinnamon and apple, I love the smell of like a sausage and onion and pumpkin mixture. I don't know, call me crazy, but you guys are gonna love it. Come meet me back over by the stove and we're gonna get this started. All right, so all I've done so far is add in a tablespoon of olive oil to a heavy bottomed soup pan, let it heat up over medium-high heat, and I took the casings off my sausage and I just added them in. Now, what I'm doing now is cooking the sausage completely, and then I'm draining it because we want to drain off all that extra fat. We don't want that to be part of the soup. So that's why I'm doing this first. So as soon as my sausage is completely cooked, I'm going to drain it, and then I'll meet you right back here. All right, my meat is all drained. So now what I'm gonna do, still over medium-high heat, I'm adding in the onion and the garlic. Let's go right in, and I'm going to mix this around and let the veggies soften for about 2 minutes. After that, we'll meet you back here and we'll go on and deglaze the pan. One little tip while the veggies are softening, guys, I wanted to let you know that while the sausage was browning, I broke it up into pretty small pieces. As you can see, there's no huge chunks. It's all pretty small. That's just how I like my soup to be. I like there to be sausage running out throughout the whole soup. I don't like there to be too big of chunks, so that's why I broke it up. But you can do that along the way. You could even do that now. If there's some bigger pieces, you can break them up. My veggies are nice and soft, so now it's time to deglaze with some red wine. And for any of you who are wondering, I like to cook with a red blend because that's just what I'm drinking all the time, so I always have some here. When you're using a wine to cook, try to use something that you have here. I only needed 2 tablespoons, so it really wasn't that bad of me to sacrifice a little bit. But you could always use like a dark Merlot or a Cabernet. Those are my go-tos, but I usually always have red blend, so that's what went in here. And by adding the wine in, we're going to scrape the bottom and get those brown bits of sausage lifted that were on the bottom of the pan. And as you can see, the wine evaporates, really quickly. If you didn't want to use wine, of course, you could just use some chicken stock, just another 2 tablespoons of chicken stock. That would be fine. That's just used to lift up those pieces of sausage on the bottom of the pan. Now that we did that, it's totally evaporated. That took only a couple seconds. I'm gonna go in with my mushrooms. And then also, with the mushrooms, you can leave them whole like this, or you can chop them up. It's completely up to you. You can leave them out also, but I feel like the texture of the mushrooms with the sausage is just divine. It's just so good. It's a nice other meaty element. So what I'm gonna do now is just stir everything together. let these mushrooms cook for about another 2 minutes, and then we'll go on with the next step. All right, my mushrooms are nice and soft. And next, we're going to add in all of our spices all at once. Don't forget, we have the Italian seasoning, garlic and onion powder, and some red pepper flake. Going right in. And I'm gonna give this a good stir. Oh my gosh. At this point, you need to take a minute and pause and smell how amazing your kitchen smells. It's like fall in a pot. It's amazing. Oh my goodness. It's everything. And this is just the best part because you can really see how all the elements are coming together for the soup, and it's just about knowing when to add each one. So now that we have all the spices incorporated, this looks amazing. All right, next step is our chicken stock. I'm going to just pour this right in. All right. All's quiet for now. Give that a good stir. Okay. That's all stirred together, and now I'm going to add in my can of pumpkin. Beautiful orange color. And for you who are a little hesitant to eat pumpkin, Jay was, so I'm going to explain this because he was like, I'm not eating a soup with pumpkin in it. You're not going to taste, it doesn't taste like pumpkin. It doesn't taste like pumpkin seeds. It just actually adds a really nice velvety texture to the soup. It's amazing. You need to try it. Don't let the pumpkin in the name scare you. It's just a wonderful thing you can incorporate, especially now, this time of the year, there's pumpkin everywhere. Everybody's making pumpkin pies and, you know, that kind of thing. So you can always find some really good quality organic pumpkin. So it's definitely worth it to go and try. And as you can see, how velvety this soup just got just from adding in this can of pumpkin. So what I'm gonna do now, keep the heat where it's at medium-high. I'm gonna bring this up to a simmer it for about 25 minutes, and then I'll meet you back here, and then we're gonna add in our heavy cream to finish, and then I'll show you how we serve it. It's all gonna happen so quickly. For you, it'll be a matter of seconds. I'm gonna have to wait a couple more minutes. So, meet you right back here in 25 minutes. The last thing we're gonna add is our heavy cream, and I'm just gonna pour that right in. And then if this couldn't get any more velvety and creamy, it's about to with this heavy cream. So I'm gonna stir this in well. Gorgeous, nice light orange color. And then we're just gonna let this cook for another about 15 minutes. And then we're gonna be ready to eat. Couple seconds for you, 15 more minutes for me. I'll meet you back at the island and I'll show you how I like to serve this soup up. I'm beyond excited because now is the time when I get to show you how to serve this and then I get to taste it. It looks amazing, and I just wanted you to come in really quick just to see how gorgeous this soup looks. We didn't use any flour or cornstarch, nothing. This is just using some organic pumpkin and some heavy cream to thicken up an amazing soup. Really quick before I dig in, even though my mouth's watering, for garnish, I like to use some shredded mozzarella cheese and some scallions, green onion. I think that that just complements the sausage soup perfectly. And then, I don't know if you guys noticed, but I did not add any salt and pepper to my soup as it was cooking. There's so much flavor in the chicken stock and also in the sausage that I don't want to overpower with salt or pepper. So when I serve this, I like to just serve that on the side so that when you're making your soup, you can add as much cheese, as much scallion, and salt and pepper that you like. So this is how I like to make mine. And I'm just gonna spoon some into my cute little pumpkin bowl here. Oh my goodness, guys. If you could smell this right now, I mean, I don't know why they haven't invented a sausage soup candle or something. I mean, it smells phenomenal. All right, so to this, I'm going to add in a little bit of mozzarella cheese right on top. And this cheese will just melt and just make beautiful ribbons all throughout your soup. And then just a couple scallions right on top. And then I'm gonna do some black pepper. So I love pepper in soup. And there you have it. This is my sausage and pumpkin soup. I'm ready to go right in. Nice and chunky, but also velvety smooth. Look at that. Mozzarella. Wow. Wow, 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 wow. It's perfect. It's literally perfect. The texture is phenomenal. It's nice and velvety. It's nice and hot right now too, but it's also nice and chunky with the sausage and the mushrooms. Now, I added red pepper flake, and I did that on purpose because right now at the back of my mouth, I'm getting that nice hot kick from the hot red pepper flake. This is comfort food at its finest. This is my rustic chicken soup recipe. I've had it on my blog for years now. It's a fan favorite. I just use a lot of fresh in-season veggies. It ends up still being low carb even with the carrots, but if you want to leave them out, by all means, leave them out or add in another favorite of yours. But this recipe comes together really quickly in a big soup pan using rotisserie chicken, some fresh chopped veggies, and it just warms you from the inside out. And if you are finding that you're maybe feeling under the weather, it is fall and winter, so cold season is coming, and if you know someone who maybe is not feeling too good, whip them up a batch of this, save some for yourself, and stick some in the freezer. It is that good. You're going to want to have this on hand for whenever you feel like a good, nice, warm bowl of soup. I love to put fennel in this soup. I actually use fennel that I just cut really thinly like this, and then I also use the fronds, which is the green part on the top, and I just kind of like shave it off with a knife and then just chop it finely just like this and pop it right into the soup. If you've never had fennel before, you might be finding it in your store as fennel or anise, but I would highly recommend cooking with it. It just elevates the flavors and it's so delicious. You guys, I love fennel. Love, love fennel. And just like with the Alfredo recipe, this soup needs a little squeeze of lemon right at the end. You don't taste the lemon, but it wakes up so many flavors. If you don't do this, don't get mad at me if your soup doesn't taste that good. The lemon is a must. It is written right into my recipe, and I really don't think you should leave it out. And this is also one of those soups that you don't miss the noodles. So a lot of recipes that I tried, they just didn't work for me because I missed the noodles. This soup is so hearty, so chunky, so rustic that you won't miss the noodles either, and you'll be staying on track. Today's recipe is a keto shepherd's pie. So this recipe is not going to be 100% authentic. I'm going to be using ground turkey today, and I'm modifying some of the ingredients to be keto friendly. You can use anything your heart desires. You could do ground turkey, like me, ground chicken, ground beef, ground lamb. The choice is yours. So for shepherd's pie, there's actually two layers. There's the bottom layer, which is a meat layer, which is seasoned perfectly with some veggies and ground meat. And then the top layer is typically mashed potatoes, but today we are going to be making homemade cauliflower mash with just a few ingredients, and we're gonna top it with that and then bake it all in the oven. So the first thing you're gonna wanna do is make sure your oven is preheated to 400 degrees. I'm gonna show you the ingredients for the bottom layer, for the meat layer first, then we'll move on to the mash, pull it all together, and then we eat. So for the meat layer, you're going to need 1 pound of ground meat. Today I'm using ground turkey, 1 clove of garlic, 1 cup of chopped onion, 3/4 of a cup of chopped celery, 1 tablespoon of Worcestershire sauce, 1/4 of a cup of red wine, 1/2 cup of chicken stock, 3 tablespoons of low sugar ketchup, 1.5 teaspoons of dried parsley, 1/2 teaspoon of dried thyme, 1/2 teaspoon of paprika, 1 ounce of cream cheese, and 1 cup of frozen peas, and some salt and pepper. Let's get started. So the first thing I do is add in a little bit of olive oil and have it on medium-high heat and just brown up my turkey. Mine had a lot of liquid that came off, so I'm actually just gonna drain all of that out, and then I'm gonna add it back to the stove and add in my celery and my chopped onion. And I'm gonna cook that just for a few minutes until the veggies soften and everything is starting to come together. This always happens. I always forget something. So you see the garlic back there? I should have added that in before the spices, but don't worry, it will make its way in. But here I am just adding the spices, and just adding them to a pan like this allows them to toast up and just really bring out all of the flavor in those dried spices. And I'm also going to be just seasoning it lightly with some salt and pepper at this point too. We're going to check it for seasoning later as well. All right, next we're gonna take our red wine. I love to use a dry red wine, just like this one from 19 Crimes. The Shiraz is definitely my favorite. And I'm just gonna be deglazing the pan. You wanna cook the wine, stir and cook it until it's pretty much all the way evaporated. This adds a great depth of flavor, so make sure you pick a wine that you would love to drink as well. Once it's evaporated, I'm adding in my Worcestershire sauce and my low sugar ketchup. And then I'm also going to be adding in the chicken stock. And you want to just stir this so it's all incorporated well, and then you want to bring it up to a bubble. Next, you're going to add in your frozen peas. Lovely green color. And then we are going to be using cream cheese, full-fat cream cheese, to make this a little bit thicker. And that is the only thing that's going to thicken this up, and I think it works perfectly. So there is our mixture, and it's all ready to go. I'm going to put a lid on this while we make the cauliflower mash part. So next we're going to be making the cauliflower mash topping part of our shepherd's pie. The ingredients are super simple. The best way to do this is to chop up your cauliflower florets into big chunks and put them into a steamer basket just like this, and then we're going to be putting it on the stove for about 10 minutes to steam. Then we're going to be putting everything into the food processor and letting it do all the work. That is definitely the best way to make this topping. So for the cauliflower mash portion, you're going to need 5 cups of florets cut into big pieces, 3 tablespoons of mayonnaise, 3 tablespoons of butter, I love Kerrygold butter, and 1 egg, onion powder, garlic powder, and then 1/4 cup of cheddar cheese. Okay, so my water is boiling. I am just going to steam this cauliflower for 10 minutes. And you want to steam it that long because you want a knife to go through it very easily, just like I did here. And this is a great way to test, but I feel like 10 minutes has been pretty solid for as many times as I've made this. So then once 10 minutes is up, we're gonna put all of the cauliflower florets right into the food processor just like this, along with all of the other ingredients except the cheese and the egg. Save that for the very end, because I want to make sure this tastes perfectly before we add the egg in. Having the mayonnaise, salt and pepper, garlic powder, and onion powder in there with the butter, you can really get a good idea of the taste, the flavor profile for this. So my measurements are going to be kind of loose because cauliflower is all different. It could be all different sizes, even if you're measuring it. And it could also have different levels of water content. So I say season this up with the salt, pepper, garlic powder, onion powder, butter, and mayonnaise to your taste. I would definitely start with my measurements. The full recipe is in the description box, and kind of add more if you feel like you need to until it tastes perfect. Here I am adding a little bit more butter in and then a little bit more garlic powder as well, just because it didn't have the flavor that I wanted yet, and that's exactly what I mean. Just add until it tastes good to you. And then once everything tastes perfect, crack your egg in and add in the cheddar cheese. And then I like to put this on for another just 10 or 15 seconds just to get that egg all incorporated, and then you're ready to go. Your topping is done. So here we have the bottom layer keeping warm in my pan, and then here is the top layer, and then I'm just going to use an 8x8 baking sheet and just layer these up. There is something so satisfying about making casseroles like this. Tell me if I'm not alone. Let me know in the comments. I just love like smoothing out the layers. I just think it's so fun. This is why cooking is literally my happy place. I just love it. You're going to pop this into your oven for half an hour until the top is nice and golden brown, and then the bottom is bubbly from the bottom up. You can see it. It just looks amazing. So this is gonna make 4 servings, which is pretty easy. You just kind of use your spatula to create 4 pieces, but you want to let it cool. I let mine cool for 15 minutes just sitting on the counter like that so that all of the flavors can kind of just settle and sit. And in the meantime, I'm just washing my pans. Once you wait for your casserole just to sit, that's the best, because then it will stay together. It won't just ooze and fall apart, and the flavors will all get time to marry together. How gorgeous does this look? And it was so easy. That's the best part, and it's perfect for meal prep as well. Especially for a lunch meal prep on like a cold fall day. It's perfection, it really is. I want to show you guys how to make the best ever roasted butternut squash. Let me show you the ingredients that you're gonna need. You might even have them all in your pantry already. So come down and take a look. So I'm going to spray my baking sheet with a little bit of nonstick cooking spray. This is the one that I use. It's an olive oil based cooking spray. It's my current favorite. For spices, I'm gonna use pink Himalayan sea salt. I'm also gonna use some fresh cracked black pepper, along with some chili powder and some garlic powder. And yes, I burned myself the other day. Yep. And the star of the show, a nice big butternut squash. And lastly, you're gonna need a little bit of your favorite extra virgin olive oil. So that is everything. Okay, so the first thing we have to do, preheat the oven, 415 degrees. Sounds weird? Just go with it. You're also gonna need a large baking sheet, which I have right here behind me. Spray it with the olive oil cooking spray, set that aside, and now we're gonna prep the squash. So what I like to do, just raw like this, we're going to peel it, and then we're gonna chop it up. Let's go. Now once you have it cut in half, you'll see that there's these seeds here. I want to scoop those seeds out with a spoon, and then we'll get to chopping. Okay, so let's talk really quick about how much chopping that was. Me personally, I love chopping. It's therapeutic for me. It's my favorite thing to do, probably the prep for making the food. I'm weird. But if you are stressed out about how much chopping that was, you can actually buy butternut squash already chopped. check your store. I promise it is there. And one more thing, I'm not perfect. These pieces are not all exactly the same size. Please, whatever you do, do not stress yourself out about, how perfect each piece has to be. It doesn't matter. Actually, it doesn't matter at all because nobody cares. If you were cooking in a 10-star restaurant, you might get in trouble by the chef if you didn't have each piece exactly the same. But this is your kitchen. Do not stress out about the pieces. Yes, some are gonna be a little more caramelized than others. Some are gonna be a little bit more soft. I'm cool with that. You should be too. Don't stress out. Cooking is fun. So, now that we have all of our squash all chopped up and ready to go, not perfectly chopped, I'm just gonna put it into a thin layer really quick just so we can do all of the spices. In the recipe that I have written, I'm gonna put the amounts, but what I like to do, depending on how big my squash is, how much I have, the spices are gonna be tweaked a little bit. So I just like to cover everything with a nice thin layer of spices and take it from there. If you need to follow an exact recipe, it will be in the description box down below. Here we go again. And like I said, cooking is fun. Not everything has to be exact. So follow me down below and I'll show you exactly how we're gonna throw it all together. All right, so this is my pan. My squash is all in a thin layer. I'm gonna take some extra virgin olive oil and I'm just going to drizzle it on top. This is gonna be about 1.5, probably tablespoons for this amount of butternut squash. I just like to drizzle it on like that. Next, we are going to go in with the pink Himalayan sea salt or whatever salt you prefer. This is just the one that I'm using now. And I like to do a couple grinds right on top. You want each piece to be covered with salt. And then same thing with the cracked black pepper. And the salt you can't really see, but the pepper and the chili powder, you'll definitely be able to see how much I'm using. I like to liberally spice everything and season everything because this is where you're giving the butternut squash all of the flavor. So you can see all the little black pepper flecks. A-okay. Then we're gonna go in with the garlic powder. And you know me, garlic is my best friend. I just do a light dusting right on top. Oven's already and preheated, so we're ready to go. Lastly, chili powder. The chili powder is a must-do. Is this gonna taste really like a taco? Absolutely not. The chili powder works great with the butternut squash and just gives an amazing, amazing flavor profile for butternut squash, but it does not taste extra smoky. It doesn't taste like a taco, so do not be scared. Do not leave this out. I sprinkle it liberally too. I want each piece to have chili powder on it. Oh, it already smells so good. Garlic powder just wakes me up. I'm gonna show you guys exactly what this looks like right now, all seasoned up. This is what you're looking for. And now with clean hands, I'm going to toss. And then I'm gonna arrange it in a flat layer. You want everything to be flat and not overlapping. You don't want it to be piled up. One even layer that will ensure even cooking. And you know what? The fact that they're all not perfect means that I can call this a rustic dish. For 15 minutes, and then I'm gonna bring it back here and I'll show you guys what it looks like, and then we're gonna toss it and pop it back into the oven for the additional cooking time. My butternut squash was in for 15 minutes. Now we're going to toss. As you can see, this is a piece that already flipped. It's just starting to get a little bit caramelized. So now we want to flip all of this over so that the other side can get caramelized as well. Then we're going to pop it back into the 415-degree oven for an additional 15 minutes. I'm going to put this in containers for meal prep. So when I ate this meal with my chicken and my spinach in the bowl that I posted on my What I Eat in a Day, I actually used 1 cup of this exact recipe for my meal. So that's how much I used in my bowl. Look at how beautiful and caramelized it gets. Oh my gosh. Isn't it just beautiful? It doesn't get any better than that. So what I'm going to show you today is how to make a cauliflower mac and cheese. This is just, straight up cheese, cauliflower mixture, nothing crazy. I know you can kind of take this recipe and kind of build on it and do a lot of fun creations, add bacon, add broccoli, do a whole different kind of things, which I'll show you later. But this is my signature cauliflower mac and cheese, simple, easy recipe. Come down and take a look at the ingredients, not too many today. First, we need our base, our cauliflower. Now I've cut these florets into bite-sized pieces, a little bit smaller, than I normally would cut them for any other side dish, because we want them to kind of resemble the size of the pasta. Over here we have some softened cream cheese. I have some mustard. You can use any mustard that you like. If you like yellow mustard, use it. If you like spicy brown, use it. This is a whole grain Dijon mustard. Then I have some garlic powder, a little bit of mayo for creaminess. I have cheddar cheese. I divided it in between two bowls. This is going to be for topping, and this one is going to be for getting mixed into the sauce. Cheddar cheese and then American cheese. You can use white or yellow, but American is perfect in this. Lastly, to make the sauce, we have some heavy cream. The first thing I have to do is soften up my cauliflower a little bit. So what I like to do, actually, there's two different ways you can do this. You can put it in a microwave-safe bowl like this, fill it in, which is what I'm going to do today. Put about 2 tablespoons of water on top and microwave it for a minute. That will soften it perfectly for what we're doing here. Other thing you can do is heat a pot of water over the stove, put your cauliflower into a steam basket and steam it for about 4 minutes. You'll get the same results. I'm kind of taking a shortcut today, so I want to use the microwave. So I'm going to pile my cauliflower in here, sprinkle it with a couple of tablespoons of water, pop it into my microwave, and then we will go on to the next step. To start off, I have a large saucepan here, and I'm heating it over medium-high heat. I want to get this nice and hot because I want to cook everything and get the cheese melting and just assemble everything. So this doesn't have to be a low and slow kind of deal. Medium-high heat, and we're good to go. To the cream, or heavy cream, I'm going to add in my cream cheese. And what I want to do is just get this all melted into the heavy cream. So you're just going to use a whisk and just go around and do that until everything is well combined. All right, cream cheese is all dissolved, so now I'm going to go in and flavor this sauce. We're going to do the mustard, the mayo, and the garlic powder. Let that fall in with all that. Okay, then we're just going to whisk this in. Now what I want to do is bring this up to like a very slight bubble. And the reason is I want it to thicken a little bit. And the mayo is going to help with that, and so is the mustard, believe it or not. So I'm just going to keep whisking this till I combine all these ingredients. And as you guys can see, it's already starting to get thick and it's already starting to bubble up on the sides. So what I want to do is just add in a pinch of salt and then also a pinch of black pepper. There we go. It already smells good. It smells amazing. The mustard that I like to use is a Dijon whole grain mustard. It's perfect in this. But like I said, use anything that you like. If you have a specialty mustard that you like to buy at the store, like one maybe that's flavored something unique, use that in this because it really does work and it flavors everything so well. All right, we're good to go. So what I want to do now is add in my cheese. While it's nice and hot, I'm going to throw my American in first and just kind of break it up as I go, just to help the process along and help it melt faster. All the American cheese is in, and it's still a little bit loose. That's because we need to add in the cheddar now. So now that that's all melted, you want to add your cheese in stages, just because it's easier to add it in, whisk it around till it melts, and then you can add in the next batch. So I'm going to add in a little bit of the cheddar, about half, whisk this in, and we're going to get a nice pale orange color once this is all melted in, which is going to be really pretty and traditional to what you would expect for mac and cheese as well. Okay, good to go. And as you can see, when we add in the cheese, it really thickens this sauce up. So without even adding carbs, like a cornstarch or anything like that, you don't need that. You can do that by just combining the right low-carb ingredients. Guys, that's the sauce. So I'm going to turn this off. All right. And then, perfect. And I want you to see, actually, what we're working with here. This is how luxurious this sauce is. Look at that. It's the perfect cheese sauce. And as you can see, it holds up on a spoon. It's gorgeous. Ooh, it tastes amazing. So what I'm gonna do now is grab my cauliflower. Okay, so now you wanna pour this right over the top. And I'm actually gonna grab a spatula because I wanna grab all of this cheesy goodness out of here. All right, let's go. Guys, oh my gosh, this is gonna be so good. You can taste the sauce at this point. If you think it needs something, I mean, I can make this with my eyes closed, so I know that everything in here is exactly the way that I like to have it flavored. I make a mess. So now, what you wanna do is just mix this around till all the cauliflower is coated in this sauce. And it may look a little messy, but it's mac and cheese. This is just how it works. This is cooking. This is real cooking. All right, perfect. Then you want to spread it into a single layer, just like this. And then taking the extra cheese that we had, as much or as little as you want, this is going to create that nice bubbly crust on top. And you just want to sprinkle it right on top. I like a lot of cheese, so if you're like me, follow my lead. We're going to do it all. Perfect. All right, so I'm going to pop this into my oven. It's at 375 right now. I'm going to check it after about half an hour. What I want to happen is I want it to get nice and bubbly on the inside, but then on the top, this cheese is going to melt and look beautiful. And then you're going to have little pockets of like browned cheddar cheese on top. It's going to be perfect. Once it gets to that point, I will show you guys what it looks like. Look at that bubbly goodness. All right, this was in the oven, and then I actually was patient and I didn't touch it and I let it kind of cool down. It's just like anything else that you would cook. You kind of want everything to just settle down, cool a little bit, and then it gets the sauce even gets thicker and thicker, just like actual mac and cheese. So now that I've waited patiently, my reward is I get to try some of this. Let me just go in right on the corner. I love that crusty cheese. Look at that. And it smells just like mac and cheese. I mean, it's still really hot. This will keep warm for a while. You'd be surprised. So you could even make this and just let it hang out on the table because it's going to stay warm in this exact dish. The cheese sauce is money. It's so good. This is the perfect side dish. It's perfect for your dinner table on a weekend, on a weeknight. It's that easy to put together and then just pop in the oven. You know that I like flavorful food that not only tastes amazing, but is quick, simple, and easy, and kind of tricks people into thinking that you spent an hour in the kitchen when you only spent a couple minutes. This side dish is one of those recipes that just falls right into that category. I'm gonna show you how to make today my oven roasted Italian broccoli. Let me take you over the ingredients. The star of the show, a couple cups of broccoli here, and I left it in pretty big pieces only because you'll see once we bake this in the oven, it's gonna shrink down a little bit. So it looks like a lot of broccoli, but it will shrink down. It'll be perfect. And I like to add mushrooms to my broccoli. These are some baby Bella mushrooms. I left them in whole pieces just as they were sliced in the grocery store. If they're really big and you want to break them in half, go right ahead. It's totally up to you. And you can also leave them out if you are not a fan of mushrooms, which Jason isn't. So I had to take my little pile of mushrooms and keep it off to the side on the baking sheet. It was sad, but don't worry. They all got into my stomach, so it all ended up good. But if you don't like mushrooms, you can leave them out. We have some cheese here, some Parmesan cheese in the back, and then underneath some whole milk mozzarella. For some spices, I have garlic powder, red pepper flake, onion powder, Italian seasoning, and some black pepper. I'm not going to add any additional salt to this until the very end if I think it needs it because the Parmesan is very salty. So take that at the end if you think it needs more salt, that's fine. A little bit of olive oil and some butter. Love the butter, salted butter right here. So as if this couldn't get any simpler from these ingredients, it's about to get simpler. Take your baking tray, line it with some foil just for easy cleanup, dump the broccoli, and then you're gonna dump your mushrooms. And by the way, I have my oven preheating right now at 425. You wanna roast these babies. You want it like high temperature that is just gonna make them nice and golden brown and a little bit crispy on the outside. It's perfect. Okay. So some of these big pieces I am gonna break up. There we go, as I go. Spread this out evenly. Now the cheese we're gonna reserve for later. Same thing with the butter. For right now, all I need is my olive oil, which I'm gonna drizzle right on top. Just a couple tablespoons. And then these spices. What I'm gonna do is actually just use my fingers really quickly and just kind of get these all a little bit incorporated. And then I'm just going to sprinkle them right on top. And this is really what flavors this broccoli. And as always, guys, the red pepper flake is optional. If you're serving this to kids, you can just leave it out. I'm a red pepper fanatic. Red pepper flake, I should say. So I am using it. Okay, whoops. All right, all my spices are in. I'm just gonna go in with my clean hands and get the oil, spices, everything coated onto the broccoli and the mushrooms. All right, just like that. I mean, it does not take long. Any big pieces you can break up along the way. Form this into a single layer because we want this to roast. We don't want it to steam. So you want to have a sheet tray that's big enough to hold all these veggies on a single layer. All right, what I'm gonna do is pop this into my oven at 425 for 15 minutes. I'm gonna watch it because you don't want it to burn. Your oven might be a little bit stronger than mine, so you wanna just make sure, keep an eye on it. After 15 minutes, I'll meet you right back here and I'll show you what to do next. Okay guys, 15 minutes later, this is what we're working with. I have my broccoli here and I'm just tossing it lightly with the spatula. It's nice and golden brown, our mushrooms, but see how I told you guys everything would kind of shrink? So what I want to do now is take my butter and I want to just add it in and I just want to kind of toss it with the broccoli right now. And I want to kind of evenly distribute it because this is actually going to go back in the oven in just a second. So I want the butter to kind of be just in the middle of everything. It doesn't have to be, it's not going to melt right now. It's going to once we put it back in the oven. Then I want to kind of crowd everything in the middle of the pan now because now what we're going to do is take our cheese mixture, just lightly toss that with our fingers, and then I just want to sprinkle that right on top of all this. Just like that. Now this is going to be popped right back into the oven, still at 425, for another 5 minutes. That's going to give the butter a chance to melt. It's also going to give the cheese a chance to really melt all over those veggies, hence the Italian style. And as soon as 5 minutes is up, we're gonna plate this and I'm gonna show you how great it looks. The side dish is plated, guys. Come down and take a look. It looks phenomenal. Fresh veggies, super simple flavors, some low carb cheese. You can't go wrong, seriously. And I mean, if you don't like broccoli, make this. You'll like it. I'm going in for a bite with some cheese and some broccoli and definitely a mushroom or two. Until next time, cheers to healthy eating, low carb cooking. Have a good night. See you guys later.